So, hi, let's start this over again. Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, drmikesemporium.com, Dr. Mike's Emporium on Instagram. Awesome. Okay, so what I was saying before the microphone decided to cut out was we did a panel up in TeslaCon up in Wisconsin a couple of weeks ago. Gosh, has it been 2 weeks already? Good gracious, time does fly. But there we go. So I wanted to show you the panel that I did, that we did up in Wisconsin. So without further ado, or as much ado about nothing, let's see if we can do this like this and go, hey, it is me, Dr. Mike, the owner and operator of Dr. Mike's Shaving Emporium, the Noble Razor, Cold Steel, and Hot Lather. Now, you may have seen parts of this before. If you've been to any of the panels, you're going to see some familiar stuff, but you're also going to see some stuff that is new, because the theme of TeslaCon was the Hawthorne Manor, or a haunted manor, or haunted mansion. So what I wanted to do was kind of add to the gruesomeness of the effect. So let me bring this up to, we'll keep it here. All right, so I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of shaving, history of barbershops, right? So way back, we're talking like a long time ago. Early man they didn't have like razors like we normally do. Hey, Jim and Michael, awesome, great to see you. But they had, like obsidian blades and flint blades. I mean, look at that. Far as back as 30,000 BC, they not only shaved their hair off their body, but they would carve designs into their skin, which I'm glad we really don't do that now. I'm not in the mood to do that whatsoever. So moving on, in Greece, Alexander the Great was obsessed. He was obsessed with being clean shaven. You can tell that he didn't want to have a 5 o'clock shadow in battle. Around this time, ladies would burn their hair off with a torch. And also, I'm very glad we do not do that now. Moving on into Rome, this is moving along in history. This is when the barber shop, or the tonsorial parlor actually came into effect. They would use an iron novicilla, a Roman razor. So you can see an example in the green thing there, that they would literally put oils on you and scrape the hair off you, and that does not seem comfortable. You can see the paddle-shaped one there as well. Yeah, that was pretty dangerous there. So this is kind of the cool stuff that you really realize how effective things have gotten. But the Greek historian Herodotus, this is about the Egyptians. They were very, very focused on being clean, because imagine all that sand everywhere. So there you go. Men were plucking hair off, eyebrows, hair, faces, eyelashes, even scrubbing hair off with pumice stones, which is even worse than scraping it off with a metal blade. Yeah, thank you. Moving into the Middle Ages, there's some really interesting books on sort of the cosmetics and the hairstyles of Middle Ages, because we have a little more written documentation about that. The elaborate hairdressers. I talked about Marie Antoinette. Most people, when they think of that, they think of the huge hair pieces. But women would shave off their hair and their eyebrows and then draw them back on and make them as beautiful as possible. They also used a lot of lead-based paint as makeup, which not very healthy. Men were expected to be neat and clean, especially with all those plagues, right? So I think, yes, this is when we started. I actually added this in for the Hawthorne Manor. So when people got sick, they thought it was a problem with your blood, or the humors, as they called it. You had, green bile and bitter bile and yellow bile and all this other stuff. And if you had a problem, like if you were not feeling well, it was typically attributed to your blood, a problem with your blood. So if they got rid of the blood, the old blood, and they got you new blood, you might feel better. So the monks would normally do it, but because barbers at the time were more skilled with sharper instruments, hint, hint, like razors and such, they said, hey, why don't you come along and help us, and you can help bleeding, right? So if you could cut hair or beards, they might be handy cutting your vein open, So I'm really glad we don't do that anymore either. I believe George Washington, I think I brought this up in the panel, is that I think George Washington actually died when the doctors were bleeding him over and over and over again. And that kind of helped move him along and ended his life. Pope Alexander III, he said, okay, in the late 1100s, said, hey, guys, cut that out. So he said, you don't need to do that anymore. We're glad he did. You may have seen the barber pole. I always love this kind of trivia. The barber pole being red or white typically was the theory is that barber surgeons, quote unquote, they would have the red or white bandages, right? You would have the blood on the bandages. The white bandages would be red, and so they would wash them and hang them out so people knew where to come. There's theories about the pole that the patient, quote, the patient would grab the pole and hold on while they did the bloodletting. The brass ends at the top and the bottom could either be the like if on the top it was a bowl for the blood to drain into, and then of course the bowl would also hold leeches because they used leeches to kind of pull blood out of you. There's a wonderful example of a leech right there. No, thank you. The blue stripe, there's a lot of different theories about the blue stripe being added to the barber pole. Some folks believe it's like the blue for the arteries, the blue veins and such like that. Some folks say that, it helped to differentiate a barber from a surgeon. I just happen to think that the blue stripe stands for America, red, white, and blue. That's what I'm going to stick to. I think that it looked good. So we made it to the 1700s, late 1700s. French barber Jean-Jacques Perret, he wrote The Art of Learning to Shave Oneself, and he actually invented a safer razor. So instead of using just a knife, he had a little wooden guard that would fit over the blade of the razors, which only allowed just the cutting edge to actually make contact, which made it safer for a razor. So that's a start. Early 1800s, the folding blade or the cutthroat, the Sweeney Todd. Yes, the straight razor, very, very effective. It became really, really popular because in the mid-1800s, they really kind of started to have better steel. Straight razor steel from Sheffield, England, for example. Sheffield is still a wonderful place for razors, right? If you find a vintage from Sheffield, you've got a good one. And also, if you happen to read the blog on Monday that we have on drmikesemporium.com, talked about how the barber shop became a place where people would gather, much like in Rome. People would gather to discuss politics, religion, sports, talk about which high school team is doing better, which person is going to do great going off to school, and all this other stuff. So, think Floyd's Barbershop from the Andy Griffith Show. Wonderful, wonderful place where people came together, talked, and caught up on the news of the day when you didn't have the internet or the interwebs, right? Didn't have Facebook back then. 1880s, the Kampfer brothers filed for the first patent for the first safety razor. How cool is that? If you look at the picture we have here, it is a really interesting kind of a scoop design. The blade fits at the top. It's a single edge. It's held at a very particular angle, and as you shave with it, the lather would kind of fill up the gap below the blade, and they call this a lather catcher. How cool is that? 1904, this is the traditional safety razor. This is what a lot of folks see as a safety razor. Either that or the butterfly, which, the top opens up. But if you can see here, they have a top plate, the razor itself, and then they have the razor blade itself, and then they have the base plate or the handle, right? So King C. Gillette invented the disposable razor. It's safer, it's inexpensive, it really took off. We added this slide for TeslaCon. In 1921, researchers in New York City tested shaving brushes purchased from street vendors, and they found Bacillus anthracis, the bacteria that causes anthrax, in 78% of the brushes. That is crazy because the brushes were made of horsehair, and so anthrax kind of attach themselves very easily. So we actually have an example. Pull this from artofmanliness.com, which was wonderful. In 1921, a gentleman by the name of Michael F. Farley, he came to the United States from Ireland. He ran a successful liquor business in New York. How awesome. Elected to Congress in 1915, but he went to a barber shop, and during the time he was getting his shave, that wonderful lather that the barber was putting on his face from a badger hair brush infected with the bacterium anthrax, it got into a nick and he died. He was infected and died from anthrax from a shaving brush. And I'm really, really glad now that we don't have to worry about that. So awesome. Here's one of a great composer. Notice we call it the Five Guys, and I made the joke that it's not five guys of hamburgers, it's five guys who passed away from shaving. This was and if Kay was here, she would tell me that I'm pronouncing it completely wrong. Alexander Scriabin was a pianist and composer with a rather eccentric streak. He died at the age of 43. He nicked himself while shaving, and he got sepsis and blood poisoning, and passed away. Also has a wonderful mustache, by the way. So there's two. Number 3, John Henry Taylor, 1911. He was a horticulturist. He went on a cruise ship, Red Line cruise ship, back in 1911. Yes, they had them back then. The barber on board gave him a little nick, as you know, I guess the waves were tossing and turning the boat. He got a little nick, and then later that night, his throat began to swell and fill up with fluid. The ship doctor said, "Oh, you got a little blood poisoning there. And you'll be fine. You'll be fine." 2 days later, the swelling increased. He could no longer talk. He died from a severe edema with the swelling. Couldn't swallow, couldn't breathe. How awful is that? That's 3. The 4th gentleman is John Thoreau. Yes, that's the brother of famous American writer and transcendentalist Henry David Thoreau. Walden's Pond, anybody? So in the winter of 1841, John Thoreau cut himself with his razor. A few days later, he came down with lockjaw and died in Henry David Thoreau's arms. His brother's death devastated Thoreau. He didn't talk to his family. He ended up going off into the woods to get away and mourn his brother's passing, which actually came to create one of America's most wonderful transcendentalist stories of, the Walden's Pond. How about that? It's amazing. It's amazing. The 5th gentleman is Lord Carnarvon. George Herbert was the chief financier of the archaeologist who actually helped with King Tut's excavation, right? When they found King Tut, he was the guy putting up the money. But in 1923, he was bitten on the cheek by a mosquito, and he was shaving, and it sliced open, which, a little bump, and boom, there you go. It got infected. He got sepsis. He passed away, contracted pneumonia, and died in 23. So that's 5 guys who passed away, or 5 people who passed away from shaving. How about that? So these were always the wonderful times when the crowd would interact. We had about almost 30 people in the crowd at the panel, and this was 1 o'clock on Thursday before the show even started. So we had a good crowd. So back to the history. In World War I, the U.S. government said, "Hey, Gillette, we need safety razors so the armed forces can shave." World War II as well. By the end of the war, 3.5 million razors and 32 million blades were distributed. If you want to talk about market share, that is a great way to get market share. Right, Chris? Exactly. Yeah, I'm glad things are a little bit more hygienic now. In 1928, Colonel Jacob Schick patented the first electric razor. That's Schick in the corner there. His razor is very basic. And I wanted to bring this up. If you see on the bottom, I wish I had a little pointer, but on the left is a piece of hair, where it gotten cut at the 30-degree angle, and you see how clean that is. The picture on the right is what happens to your beard hair when it's cut with an electric razor. Aliens. It's always aliens. But that's why, it may feel like you're getting a close shave, but you are destroying the hair. So we don't hold that against Schick. He created a wonderful company, and that's awesome. And he's also Canadian. One of the strangest things I found when I was researching like bizarre and gruesome barber history was from 1942 Mississippi, Pascagoula. The criminal was named the Phantom Barber. He had a really weird habit, creepy habit, of cutting the locks off of young girls while they slept. And only one girl actually saw, like she woke up in time to have this person at the window kind of jump out. So they thought the person was named William Dolan. He was arrested and charged because there was some kind of like issue with the family at the time. But he always maintained his innocence, and even he was released early, and he passed a lie detector test. Said, "I'm not this guy," but it's hard to say whether the real Phantom Barber was ever caught. And at this point, I made the joke that it was me. That maybe he's doing a panel, maybe I am. Who knows? Moving along, we're in the 1970s. If you remember, they had the Atra 2 from Gillette, right? That's 2 blades. They came out with the Mach 3, right? That's 3. 3 blades, right? 1, 2, 3. They had the 4-blade Quattro, which is from Schick, right? And then Gillette said, oh, no, we can do better than that. That's the 5-blade Fusion, which is actually 4 blades on the front and then 1 blade in the back for like trimming and such. Dorco, which is, I believe, South Korean company, came out with a 6-bladed cartridge. No kidding. However, in looking up tonight, I found that Dorco has come out with the Pace 7, which is a 7-bladed cartridge razor. That is insane about the number of blades you'll be dragging across your face. No, thank you very much. At this point, I went into talking about I call it noble shaving or dapper shaving or classic shaving or wet shaving, whatever you want to call it. The benefits of noble shaving. One of my favorite quotes comes from Henry Ford, who, when he was selling cars, he actually would say, you can have any color you want as long as it's black. But one of the biggest things about classic shaving or noble shaving is that you can have any kind of shave you want. If you want to have there are so many different razors, there's so many different blades, there's so many different brushes and soaps and aftershaves and pre-shaves. All this wonderful stuff is available to make the shave your own. And that's one of the things I really like about it, because, if you want a all lemon shave, you can do that. All lime shave, you can do that. If you want the super cold shave, you can really do that, because we know how to get that taken care of. So let's talk about the benefits. So shaving with a safety razor or a straight razor, it could potentially save you money. Yes, potentially. Normally it's about $230, $240 if you go from, you get a basic safety razor, just get your pack of blades, use basic soap, you're saving money left and right. You get better results because you're not dragging all those blades across your skin. What you're doing is getting a much closer and cleaner shave with less irritation. It's better for your skin. You're not scraping and driving, all manner of things across your face. Better quality products. A lot of times, a lot of the artisan-made soaps are made with better ingredients. We're not talking all the parabens and silicones and all the waxes and heavy-duty stuff and chemicals like propellants. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah, you can get... Yeah, the rabbit hole runs deep, doesn't it? Or doesn't it, Chris? And for the one thing, it's greener. There's a lot less waste. You're not throwing plastic cartridge after plastic cartridge away. I have the little blade banks, and I've put hundreds of blades in there, so when it's time to go, we can recycle those. The one thing that I really love the most is it turns a daily chore into something enjoyable. It's that 15 minutes or so for you to stop, smell the roses. Speaking of roses, if you want rose shave soap, you can get that. So take the time for you. Important, right? We call this the Noble Tools. We have straight razors, safety razors. Straight razors are like the Sweeney Todd razor, or even what they call a kamasori, which is essentially a single, like a shaft of metal that has a blade on the end. Safety razors, we've talked about those. That's the 3-piece or the butterfly. We have brushes made from a wide variety of products, soaps and creams, mugs and scuttles, and strops. Notice I didn't say strap. I get so many people that ask me if we sell straps. We don't sell straps. We can get strops, which is the act of stropping your razor, right? Okay. So examples of a couple of straight razors, and I've shown these before. I actually have the lower left, that red and gold one. That is a Bismarck from Dovo. Really wonderful blades there. The upper left are the two. Those are big choppers, I believe, from the late 1800s, maybe even late 1700s. They were amazing in finding those. Those are straight razors. Again, safety razors. We talked about the 2-piece, the 3-piece, the butterfly. The one in the lower right is no longer made. That's a Merkur Futur, Futur, and that is a really serious safety razor. Brushes. There you can see a wide variety. You've got horsehair, you've got boar hair, you've got badger hair, you've got synthetics. Synthetics have really come a long way. We actually carry the Parker brand of synthetic badgers, and those are really nice. They've come a long way. They used to feel like paintbrushes. Yeah. And with badger hair, and we've kind of moved a little bit away from like badger hair for my shop personally, just because we find that the synthetics really seem to work well. And they also, you really have a tough time getting specific quality involved. You never know what kind of quality of badger you're going to get. Because, I mean, here's an example, right? You have pure, best, finest black, silver tip, super silver tip, genuine silver tip, high mountain white badger, which I'll tell you is an amazing badger brush, and then synthetic badger. So there's no EPA or FDA that says, okay, this is what a pure badger brush is. This is what a finest silver tip badger brush is. So for me, synthetic badger is very basic. It kind of encompasses all the ones. Yes. So high mountain white badger supposedly is the top of the line, at least in the information that I have. I actually have one brush that I had made for me. I think it was a birthday present that I gave myself. It is a big honkin' knot that really does great. Badger holds heat, it holds moisture, it holds water, it holds soap very, very well. But I tell you, the synthetics do a great job. Soaps and creams, your high-end shaving creams, they'll have water. Stearic acid really is phenomenal for helping to make bubbles. Any of the myristic acid, the saturated fatty acids, make the bubbles that makes it, lather. Your potassium hydroxide, sodium hydroxide, aka lye, that's your inorganic base. You can get coconut acid. This is an example of a high-end shave cream. Glycerin. You can put in botanicals or essential oils, all the wonderful things you can put in. Notice there's nothing weird in there. There's nothing like crazy, waxes or silicones or propellants or anything like that. So you want to focus on getting the good, clean stuff. Mugs and scuttles. I have a couple of mugs. I have a couple of scuttles. The scuttle is the thing sort of looking like a double boiler almost. It's in the lower right-hand corner. You fill the bottom of that up with hot water, and the bowl stays hot the entire time. How cool is that? Well, how hot is that? But if you've seen my videos, the shave videos, I face lather, so I'm essentially loading the brush from the soap container, dip the tips in hot water, and go to your face and lather. A lot of folks really, really enjoy a mug, and we get asked all the time, do you have any of those shaving mugs? And yeah, we can get them. The Old Spice mugs that they used to sell have become very, very popular and very, very expensive sometimes. If you find a very good vintage one, see if you can grab that. Awesome. One of the neat things about mugs is what they used to do, and I think I brought up the Andy Griffith Show, one of my favorite shows of all time. Floyd the Barber actually had a shelf behind him, and they would have mugs, and you would bring your mug, your personal mug, to your barber shop. And a lot of times those barber shops, those mugs would have pictures on the mug showing what you did for a living. So if you were a lawyer, you'd have your name on there and you would be like a lawyer, like there's a doctor, or, if the person was like, oh, there's O'Connor who is, worked on the train line or something like that. So it was kind of a matter of status, right? How cool is that? I think we need to get back to doing that. The strop, we talked about strops, not straps. But typically it's leather, cow or horsehide. I actually have a kangaroo leather strop. And then they had a little, those are kind of cool. They're very strong, very thin. And linen would be used to sort of polish it, right? Yeah, same with English pubs, bring your own glass or mug. Exactly. You could have a hanging strop, which is like, a long piece of leather that had a hook on it. It would hang. Paddle strops are the ones that are like literally look like a paddle. And bench strops are the one you put on your table and you go back and forth on there. So it's a way to sort of, really refine the edge. Stropping versus honing. Honing is when you're actually taking the metal. Hold on, I actually have one right here. You're taking your razor there we go. It's to a stone and taking metal off of your blade to reset that edge. And stropping helps to sort of get it back to straight, because when you shave with it, the edge will bend or roll, and you want it straight, nice and neat, and nice and clean. So the stropping helps get rid of all the debris. It really helps smooth things out. I've had a shave with a razor that was just sharpened, like honed. And then once they gave me a couple of strokes with it, without stropping it, and you could feel how sharp it was. And the moment they stropped it, it smoothed it out. It softened it a bit, which is very important. So the Noble process, we talk about this every single time we do these videos. Beard prep, we talk about remember the three things we talk about, right? We talked about the physical, the thermal, and the chemical. Heat and moisture pre-shave. That's we use Parasso pre-shave stuff. We've got Cella stuff. It's anything you put on your face to help hold the moisture to your beard. The physical is the agitation of your shave brush, right? When you're going to town and really preparing that beard, you're helping the moisture and the soap really get in there. The thermal is the heat or cold, depending on which kind of shave you want. So the chemical is the actual soap itself. Soap and the stearic acid in soap will help to soften your beard. I always say the beard prep is the number one best way to avoid irritation in your shave. For lather prep, you soak your brush in hot water and you whip up your lather. Like we used to say, lather like you hate it. We say lather like you love it now. That's the important part. Razor prep, if you have a straight razor, you can strop it, make sure it's nice and smooth. If your safety razor is dirty or you haven't changed the blade in a while, put a new blade in there, right? A safety razor. The shave, we talk about I can't get my finger right there. 3-pass shave, that's with the grain, typically from the top down, and across going this way and that way, and then against is going up. Like, so if say your beard grows 100% straight down, you're going to go from here down, you're going to go here across, and then you go up gently. And afterwards, take yourself a cold towel, like put a towel in the cold water, wring it out, and put it on your face. Take care of your skin, and that will be a very beneficial thing to help reduce your irritation. And the smelling good part is also always a plus, right? Always a plus. So let's see. So that's kind of the walkthrough, and I think, yep, that is it. That would be it. That would be the panel that I did. Now, after that panel, I actually went and did a full shave. I did a full face shave. Well, not full face. I lathered up. And I also got this wonderful cut because as I was trying to explain to them how you can actually hear the razor cutting through, as I leaned over to the microphone, I turned my neck, and as I came back, I bumped into the razor blade and gave myself a nice little line, and it began to bleed on my shirt, which was not very pretty. So, congratulations, you've just enjoyed a wonderful panel. Where am I in the garage? No, I'm in my office in the back. This is where the Dr. Mike's HQ, this is the nerve center of